The world of anime has its fair share of heroes who have inspired entire generations, but have you ever wondered where your childhood heroes would be without the guidance of their mentors? Let's face it, without Kakashi, our favorite trio of shinobis would never have reached their full potential. So in this video, we are going to bow our heads to 10 great mentors who turned their disciples into legends. We are starting off our list with one of the most controversial mentors in anime. I'm talking about our favorite bald hero, Saitama, who according to most people didn't really teach his disciple Genos anything. And on the surface, it's true, Saitama never intentionally taught Genos anything about fighting. But then again, Genos was strong enough even before meeting his master. What he lacked was patience and humility. And this is where Saitama's influence changed his life. He evolved from being a hot-headed amateur to a renowned hero who was aware of his own limits and who never lets his emotions get the best of him. Moving on from one OP mentor, we come to another one. I'm talking about All Might here. And you only really need to watch the first few episodes of My Hero Academia to know why he's on this list. He checks all the boxes of being a great mentor. He is wise enough to know how special Deku is, even though this kid doesn't have any superpowers. His even more impressive decision is to let our hero discover the secrets of One for All on his own. This kind of distant teaching allows Deku to make this foreign quirk his own. And if by chance he starts to fall behind, All Might is always there to teach his disciple by examples he sets in all of his impressive battles. After all, it only took one smash to show why he is the symbol of hope. And speaking of smashing, make sure to smash the like and subscribe button so that you never miss out on any future uploads. Next up at number 8, we have another mentor who used a distant approach to teach his young student the secret of becoming strong. The mentor I'm talking about is Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, who redeemed himself by teaching the son of his arch nemesis. I'm sure you guys remember the bitter rivalry between Piccolo and Goku, but the moment Goku left the mortal realm, Piccolo took up the job to teach his son Gohan so that he can become Earth's defender. And yes, even I hated the cruelty behind some of his methods, but it was to save the kid from the upcoming danger. And over time, he won our hearts by becoming Gohan's best friend. Moving on, we have Reigen Arataka from Mob Psycho 100, who's a unique mentor in many ways. He lacks any special powers and is nothing compared to his illustrious disciple, and yet without him, Mob would have probably turned into a great villain. You see, Reigen realized how incredibly strong Mob is and decided to teach him human values so that he never chooses the dark side. He did this by telling Mob that his powers don't make him special and he shouldn't rely on them. And to top it off, he forbade the kid from ever using his powers against other people. The result of this kind of teaching is evident from the fact that Mob turned out to be the nicest hero of all time. At number 6, we have one of the most underrated mentors in anime. I'm talking about the great artist, Kikuhiko from Descending Stories. Now I'm sure many of you haven't watched this anime, but the ones who have watched it know exactly why Kikuhiko is such a great teacher. I mean, you have to admire his foresight for taking an ex-con, Yotaro, as his disciple, simply because he saw the hunger in the young man's eyes, and then he instilled everything he knew about his craft into his disciple through his little suggestions and grandiose performances, and all of this molded Yotaro into the greatest Rakugo master of his era. Next up, we have Izumi Curtis, who might just be the most badass lady in the world of anime. I'm sure this one isn't a surprise, as without her, our protagonist Ed would never have understood the hidden secrets of alchemy. He was just a kid, trying to bring back his brother's body, but through some extremely grueling training, Izumi turned him into a master alchemist, whose genius knew no bounds. But even after he became strong enough to fend for himself, she was always there for him and his brother, playing the role of the mother they didn't have. At number 4, we have the wild octopus Koro Sensei, who is responsible for teaching assassins that are literally trying to take him out every second of the day. And seeing as this goofy-looking octopus claims to be the one who blew up the moon, it makes sense why even his students are trying to eliminate him. But despite that, Koro Sensei tries his best to teach these kids some valuable life lessons while protecting them from all sorts of external dangers. His journey as a teacher has a comedic start, but it ends on an emotional note that many anime can only dream of. Next up, we are graced by the greatest mentor in One Piece. I'm talking about Dark King Silver's Rayleigh. Now, this character already had an illustrious past, since he used to be one of the most feared pirates in the world. But what made him legendary is his mentorship. Luffy learned things he never could have dreamed of. During their 2-year stay on a deserted island, Silver's Rayleigh taught Luffy 3 different forms of haki, which allowed him to finally stand toe-to-toe with his biggest and baddest rivals. So it's safe to say that Silver's Rayleigh pretty much determined the show's fate with his teachings, which is why he's on our list. At number 2, we have the greatest sage, Jiraiya, from Naruto. Now we all know Kakashi is the coolest sensei in the anime, but it was Jiraiya who helped our protagonist the most. Before meeting him, Naruto was a bratty kid who couldn't control his inner strength. But after going through Jiraiya's non-conventional training for years, this impulsive kid became a fearsome shinobi. I mean, without Jiraiya, Naruto would never have become a sage, which was his biggest strength until the very end of the show. And despite his careless attitude, Jiraiya shielded Naruto from all sorts of dangers until the kid was ready to face them on his own. And that brings us to the number 1 mentor on our list, which is none other than Eikichi Onizuka from GTO. I'm sure most of you saw it coming. After all, he is one of the most iconic characters in anime history, and what makes him special is just how relatable he is. I mean, he is a former delinquent who's trying to get his life together by becoming a teacher, but he's in charge of a class full of problem students, many of whom remind him of his youth. So he decides to turn these kids into model students by speaking their language. He's harsh on them and doesn't care about playing fair, but in the end, he's just trying to help them. So in short, he's the coolest life guru in the world, and he taught some valuable lessons to millions of kids who grew up watching him, and that's what makes him the greatest mentor in the world of anime. And that brings an end to today's video. Feel free to share your thoughts with me in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.